Hello, so today we're going to talk about Chiron in the sign of Scorpio. So Chiron shows the area of your life or personality where you're especially sensitive and vulnerable. Chiron in the sign of Scorpio is all about the wound of control. We tend to overcompensate in Chiron areas by becoming a bit extreme. It's natural to try and fix the wound, but often I find that we chase a solution to fix our Chiron instead of uncovering the solution inside of us. Unlike other planets, it's hard to ignore your Chiron. It's going to hit you in the face over and over and can make your life pretty terrible, especially if you don't know how to work with it. In this video, we're going to talk about how this wound shows itself in your life. Where does the wound come from? And eventually how to heal from your Chiron. A brief history about Chiron: it was discovered in 1977, and it makes it a recently new addition to the astrological canon. And as such, Chiron isn't used in traditional astrology, but it's becoming more common and accepted in the modern day practice. It's named after a Greek philosopher and healer who ironically couldn't heal himself. It's represented as a key symbol to show that we have the key to unlocking some serious potential within ourselves. The Chiron in Scorpio wound was caused by a past trauma or abuse. Usually the Chironic wound relates specifically to control. This wound is a deep trauma that you carry around without knowing exactly what it is. The Chiron in Scorpio wound creates a control problem that blocks you from developing natural trust and love in relationships. Because of the Chiron in Scorpio wound, you only trust control instead of trusting positive intentions or authentic love. You can't understand a world where people don't control each other. I find that this wound will often manifest itself as inner negative talk projected onto the self, the body, or onto other people. This fear will overtake any sense of self and become an integral part of the personality until the Chiron in Scorpio wound is dealt with. It's very difficult to have this wound, but this also makes it more important to deal with the wound in a healthy way. How this wound shows itself with those who have this in Scorpio: it can manifest in a variety of ways, but there are a few commonalities that show up for most people. In some sense, the Chiron in Scorpio person will have a total lack of boundaries. This is because they don't understand healthy relationships. The wound means that the individual either needs to control others or to be controlled. This could show up physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or even sexually. I find that these individuals often use sex as a means of power, but control extends well outside the bedroom. Chiron in Scorpio is the classic controlling partner, but it can also be the partner who gets controlled. Alternatively, the individual can become paranoid, power hungry, or obsessed with death and darkness. These are all different attempts to control the outcome of something. There is ways in the individual's life where they either require control or give up control. You can learn more about how this happens by looking at the house that Chiron in Scorpio sits in, as well as the aspects it makes with your individual planets. For example, if you have Chiron in the second house, you'll either control your finances and possessions with a tight fist, or you'll find or feel controlled by the things you have and or don't have. If you have Chiron in the seventh house, you'll either exert power over anyone you're in a relationship with, or you will enter into relationships where you give up your personal power. I also find that it takes an extremely long time for anyone with Chiron in Scorpio to trust. Because of this, relationships aren't easy, regardless of what house Chiron is in. Those with Chiron in Scorpio don't really believe in trust. They were hurt so badly in a past life that these beliefs and traumas have followed them for lifetimes. And these folks can never really let down their emotional walls because of the deep fear within them. Where does this wound come from? I find that Chiron and Scorpio wounds almost always come from a deep, painful past life trauma. And this trauma will be something really dark and bad. Depending on the house and placement, it might be physical, sexual, emotional, etc. I've seen Chiron and Scorpio placements that indicate past life murder, rape, suicide, torture, exploitation, abandonment, destruction, death, and more. Usually this trauma involves some sort of control. The reason that your Chiron and Scorpio manifests in the areas of control is because you felt such a lack of control in your past life while truly terrible things were happening. Although it's important to explore past lives in order to learn more about your Chiron, it's also important to move forward in a healthy, positive way. You don't want to get stuck in the trauma all over again. How would one heal from Chiron in the sign of Scorpio? Although you experience real trauma in a past life, the goal for healing is to realize that the trauma is no longer happening. You develop fear responses to deal with this trauma, but these responses are not serving you now. The way to heal is to realize that your power is within you. It's not necessarily to get or give power through other people, because no one can take away the power that is within you, no matter what happens. I find that most transactions of power are just illusions. We have constructed societal power in order to create a hierarchy among humans, but none of this is true in the universal sense. We all own our own energy and our own souls, and no earthly creature can take those things away from us. When those with Chiron and Scorpio feel self-empowered, they no longer give away their power or try to overpower others. They simply have no need of either because they have enough power already. Learning to construct healthy boundaries in all areas, relationships, work, home life, etc., is a good place to start if you want to find your own power. Fake it until you make it really does tend to work for the Chiron and Scorpio individual. The goal is to eventually see relationships and sex as natural parts of life, as two humans simply relating to each other, not as a mechanism to get or give control. Those with Chiron and Scorpio need to get out there and get triggered while actively working on their boundaries and healing control issues. Do you happen to have this placement? Did this description resonate with you or someone you know that has this placement? I'd love to hear your experience in the comments below. Thank you so much, as always, for listening.